and welcome to another episode of Daily Trader here on the Schwab Network. I'm Alex Coffey in for Kevin Hanks. Today we're looking at a market that is on the move to the upside. Of course, today, Wednesday, November 6th, the day after the presidential election in the U.S., a much anticipated event, of course, for the markets. A decisive outcome was a much needed and wanted outcome by the market. You do see volatility plunging down over 10% in the active month futures of November for volatility on the S&P 500. You do see a big move in the S&P 500 futures as well as the Russell 2000 futures. The Russell 2000 futures up 5% in real time here as we're filming this about an hour into the trading day here on this Wednesday morning. When I look at that, to me, this is an exhale from the market that this isn't going to be something that's going to be potentially dragged out. You do see, of course, some other things under the surface that are quite dramatic in terms of the moves. Really, really large moves on the long end of the Treasury curve, resulting in spiking yields or interest rates, which, of course, is something to take note of. And, of course, the U.S. dollar in tandem with that is moving quite dramatically to the upside too. So some sort of reshuffling of the deck, if you will, but the market doesn't wait for us to get our bearings. It continues to turn the page and move forward. A Federal Reserve meeting kicks off today as well, and we'll get, of course, the announcement tomorrow. So still tons on the calendar, and we're in that kind of final stretch of 2024. But as we shift away from the macro and kind of focus in, one of the biggest drivers of the equity market's performance over the last few years has been the semiconductor sector or subsector within tech, particularly these names that have had ties to artificial intelligence and the build out thereof. Nvidia and AMD are two that quickly come to mind whenever this space comes up in conversation. And those are going to be the subject of discussion today for Daily Trader, looking at example trades in both of those names. Now, Nvidia has earnings in the next few weeks. AMD has already reported earnings, and one of their peers in the industry, ARM, reports actually after the close today. So what we're looking at is an Nvidia chart here, and what we're going to look at is an Nvidia example trade. Say you believe Nvidia is going to regain this momentum, now breaking out at all-time highs, and it's potentially going to continue higher over, let's say, the next week and a half as it kind of grinds into that earnings announcement. Avoiding that earnings announcement altogether, though, for this example trade, we looked at an example trade for next Friday's November 15th expiration. It is a call vertical spread, so it's a risk-defined bullish call vertical. In this particular case, what we looked at was the 145, 150 call vertical for a $2 debit. Now, normally, we would look at this as a strategy with one strike in the money, maybe one strike out of the money, spend around half the width of the strikes. But with this one, it's sort of buying the at the money, selling it out of the money, and it actually has a risk reward of 2 to 3. So a little bit of positive asymmetry if you think the stock can grind up towards 150 over the next week and some change going in to that final weekend before the big anticipated Nvidia earnings. So risking 200, chance to make 300, but it has to get through 150 by the end of next week for that to happen. You can see that theoretical break even at 147. That's easy to find. Take that 145, call strike, you add the debit, in this case that's $2, and you're left with 147 there. So that's how you find that break even. You will need a little bit of help from the market in real time. Nvidia trades around 144. So again, this is an out of the money call vertical. You need some help from the market to break even by the end of next week, but a little bit of positive asymmetry if you are bullish in a name like Nvidia and see this stock potentially getting to 150. As we shift gears and look at one of its peers, an AMD, another name that has pretty critical ties to AI, maybe lagging Nvidia in terms of importance, but certainly one on the short list of the names you think of when it comes to the AI build out and, of course, the chips associated with that. One thing that also stuck out to me is these stocks are effectively the exact same stock price now, which is very, very interesting and hasn't happened really ever, as far as I could tell, in terms of the stock price. Now, that's just coincidental and somewhat interesting, but something to take note of. Of course, AMD has pulled back from its all-time highs that it saw earlier on this year. So performance not the same as Nvidia's, but nonetheless, looking at a bullish strategy going out with ARM's earnings on the calendar this afternoon, and of course Nvidia's earnings in the next few weeks. Perhaps you see AMD riding some positive coattails if those names are able to bring an optimistic message to the street regarding their particular performance. In this case, looking at a similar strategy that looks for a move towards 150, but getting there a little bit differently in terms of the actual strategy selected, which in this case is a call calendar spread. Selling next Friday's 150 strike call and buying the following week, November 22nd 150 call. So with the calendar spread, of course, you want a move towards the strike selected. So in this case, it allows for a lot of customization. I selected the 150 strike for this example's purpose, but it could be moved around. Someone who's a little bit more bearish, maybe look at the put calendar, of course, the call calendar on the bullish side in this case, but looking for a move towards 150 over the next week and some change, and done so for a debit of $1.30, so it does limit the risk to 130, and you can see that risk profile apex of profitability right at that strike. So in both these cases, best case scenario would be a move towards $150 a share by next Friday. Thanks as always for tuning into Daily Trader, and catch our content every single day on the Schwab Network. Thanks again.